Hello, I'm Shane from OnSolution. This is just a quick video about the common mistakes that people make with their temperature loggers. So please spend a couple minutes just to watch this video and you'll save yourself and us a lot of stress in the future. Unfortunately, every now and then we get these phone calls where someone will ring up and they've made one of these mistakes, and then we have to go through the hard phone call of saying, we know that you don't have results, and people are just so desperate to say yes, but is there anything I can do now, whereas the problem's already started? So please spend a couple minutes just to quickly watch this video, and I'll point out the most common mistakes that people make with temperature loggers. Now, the first most common mistake people make with temperature loggers is they don't turn it on in the first place. So we don't know how often you want to be sampling the temperature and if you're going to be putting it in a fridge or a freezer or whatever. So you need to configure it straight away. So as soon as you get it, install the software, put it into the reader and program it. Now, for most of you, you just be sampling it once every 5 minutes, but you do need to set the high and low alarm limit. So if it's a vaccine fridge, 2 degrees to 8 degrees. If it's a food fridge, 0 to 5 degrees. And then, you may be putting it in a freezer, you may be putting it through a washer, whatever. You need to be setting the temperature for that and the sample rate. So the first and most common mistake most people get is they'll get the temperature logger and they just won't set it up. They may put it in the fridge or they might put it in the cupboard, but whatever you do, set it up. The second most common mistake is then they don't put it in the fridge. So you've invested in this great piece of technology. Some of you may have got it with the fridge. Some of you have bought it specifically. It is amazing how many people get it and put it in the drawer and then don't set it up. And then 6 months, 12 months later, they have a problem with the fridge and they'll pull the logger out and they'll say, okay, how do we get the results? And you've got the results of the drawer, or you've got nothing because you made mistake number one as well. So as soon as you get it, program it and put it in your fridge. The third most common mistake that we come across is temperature loggers only have a finite amount of memory. So that means that after typically a couple of weeks or a couple of months, they're going to run out of room to store new data. And one of two things will happen. They'll either stop logging or they'll start overwriting the oldest data. So this is sort of like having a wheel, and you get to the end of the wheel and you can either stop or you can start going back over where you've come from. And so depending on the type of logger that you've got, it's called rollover or it's called continuous logging. Just make sure that rollover is enabled or that you've got continuous logging enabled, so that once it gets to the end, it doesn't stop logging. Now, where this becomes a problem is for the first month you use it and it all looks good, and for the second month it all looks good, and then for the third month or fourth month onwards, if you don't actually look at the dates, what's going to happen is you're going to be downloading exactly the same data over and over again. And so we've recently had people ring up to say, look, we keep on downloading, but we only see data from last September. Where's the current data? And what had happened was September last year, it had actually stopped recording new data. And for the last couple of months, they've been downloading the same data over and over again. And now that they've got an issue, they actually look at the dates and discover that it's all the old data. So make sure you program it. Make sure you put it in the fridge, and make sure when you program it that you allow rollovers. A couple minor sorts of mistakes that people make, sampling too quickly or too slowly. My recommendation is just stick with 5-minute sample rates and you'll avoid the problems of being too fast or too slow. Some people are tempted to say, look, I'm only recording the temperature twice a day, so let's set the sample rate as every 4 hours or something. You can't think that way. What this device is doing is allowing you to see everything that's going on. And so if you're only sampling once every 4 hours, if it's too hot, you don't know when it started to be too hot and you don't know when it's stopped being too hot. All you know is at that time it was too hot, and 4 hours ago it was fine, and 4 hours time it's fine. If you take that all the way down to 5 minutes, then you know to within 5 minutes when it started getting too hot, and then when it was back down within temperature. So 5 minutes is a good value. Some people may slow it down to 10, 15, 20 minutes, and that's okay. My recommendation is just to take it up to 5. So program it, put it in place, allow rollover, and make sure that you're sampling at a good value, around about 5 minutes. Now, where do you put the temperature logger? And the best place is anywhere in your fridge. The reality is that the back of the fridge is going to be cooler than the front of your fridge, but wherever you're storing product is where you can be logging. Just avoid making contact with metal within the fridge. So try leaving it hanging, and that's a good idea. What happens is metal's a really good conductor of heat or coolness, and so you'll get an artificially, typically too cold temperature. If you like, put it in a box, clearly mark it that it contains a temperature logger, and that'll stop it responding as quickly as it does if it was just hanging in the air. And it brings you a little bit closer to a product temperature. But the reality is if the if the temperature logger is always telling you that it's good, then your product will be fine. If you're finding that you're getting too wide a range and you want to bring it back down again, like I said, just put it in a box. So there you go. They're the most common sorts of mistakes that people make. So just to recap, please, straight away, now you've watched the video, make sure that you've programmed your logger, make sure that the logger is in the fridge, make sure that you have enabled it to continually log, make sure that your sample rate is around about 5 minutes or so, and when you put it in the fridge, just put it wherever the product's going to be, hanging, contemplate putting it in a box, just make sure you don't have it touching metal, and then here's the big one. Use it, retrieve the results. So once every, it may be week, fortnight, month, whatever you decide, get the results out. Don't wait for something to go wrong and then pull the logger out. You need to be regularly, once every couple weeks, downloading the results, just saving the results to make sure that everything's fine. And that way, when something does go wrong with your fridge, it's just a matter of routine. You pull the logger out, download the results, and then you'll know, yes, it was too hot for a short time or a long time, you'll know what to do. Rather than having this mad panic, our fridge has gone wrong, our logger's also playing up because we've made one of the mistakes. Anyway, my name's Shane. OnSolution is the company. If you've got any questions, give us a call, 1300 30 33 34, or email sales@onsolution.com.au. Please give us a call. We'd rather have a 5-minute conversation with you. Make sure that you've got everything running correctly, rather than having a conversation with you in 6 or 12 months' time when something's gone wrong and there's nothing we can do to help you anymore. So once again, 1300 30 33 34 or sales@onsolution.com.au. Thanks a lot. Have a nice day.